The less you say, the more they think, and when you say nothing, they hear everything. Read this before you text again, because the next message you send could either make them respect you or train them to ignore you forever. This moment, right now, your fingers hovering over that keyboard, is not just about communication. It's about consequences. One wrong move, one emotionally driven message, and you go from mystery to memory, from power to panic. Don't do it. Not yet. Not before you hear this. My friends, if you've ever been ghosted, ignored, breadcrumbed, or left on red, this one right here, it's your shield, your wisdom, your comeback. So hit that like button, smash that subscribe, and don't you dare disappear now, because what you're about to hear might just save your self-respect. Hey folks, imagine this. You're a glowing torch on a cold night. Steady, warm, brilliant. But instead of standing tall and letting the darkness come to you, you keep chasing shadows, trying to light up people who never asked for your fire. And what happens? You burn out. Not because you weren't bright, but because you gave your flame to someone who only loved the warmth, not the source. That's what texting someone who's ignoring you looks like. It's not communication, it's combustion. You're draining your own energy to stay visible in the eyes of someone who's already looking away. You ever sit there staring at your screen, rereading your last message, wondering if maybe, just maybe, they didn't see it? Let me break that lie for you. They saw it. They opened it. They hovered over the reply button, and then they chose not to respond. That wasn't an accident. It was information. It was a decision cloaked in silence. But here's the real problem. You keep trying to win someone who's using your attention as leverage. You're not confused. You're being controlled. Because the more you try, the more they pull away. And the deeper you fall, the higher they float, on the ego boost of knowing you're still hooked. Here's something I need you to understand. Attention that comes too easy is rarely appreciated. That's human psychology, not just heartbreak. People value what they have to earn. If you keep texting, keep explaining, keep showing up without being asked, you become background noise, predictable, passive, forgettable. You become the person they assume will always be there. And let me tell you something, no one fears losing what's always available. And you might say, but what if they're just going through something? My friends, if someone can scroll TikTok for hours, update their story, laugh at memes, and still forget to respond to you, they're not struggling. They're choosing distance, choosing silence, choosing themselves. And maybe it's time you did too, because the person who goes silent isn't always the weak one. Sometimes silence is strategy. It's the move of someone who refuses to fight for a space they were never properly invited into. It's not giving up. It's leveling up. You are not weak for wanting to text. You're human. But you become powerful the moment you don't. When you resist that urge to explain, to chase, to check in, that's when the power flips. That's when they start wondering. That's when they start feeling the silence you once feared. As the great Epictetus said, silence is better than nonsense. And in your case, silence isn't empty, it's everything. So before you type another word, before you check that typing bubble again, breathe. Remind yourself who you are. You are not someone who begs. You are not someone who auditions. You are not someone who texts twice after being ignored once. You are the one who walks away and never looks back. That's your strength. That's your standard. That's your power. Say it in the comments right now. I choose silence. Press that like button. Subscribe if you're new, and stay with me, because we're just getting started. Number 1. The urge to text is not about them. It's about the wound inside you. The wound is not your fault, but the healing. That's your responsibility. Let's get real, my friends. That urge you feel to text them, it's not about checking in. It's not about closure. It's not even about them anymore. It's about the void inside you that you're trying to fill with a reply that may never come. It's about the ache, the unbearable silence inside your chest, and your mind desperately looking for a way out. A way to feel seen, validated, wanted again. But here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. You're not texting them to connect. You're texting them to stop the bleeding. Imagine this. Your heart is a leaking faucet, and instead of fixing the pipe, you keep placing your hand under the drip, again and again, trying to catch every drop, hoping it'll stop on its own. That's what happens when you try to soothe abandonment with attention from the one who abandoned you. It's not healing, it's recycling pain. Let me ask you something. What do you think they'll say if they respond? That they missed you, that they're sorry, that they didn't mean to ignore you? And even if they did say that, would it really satisfy the wound? Or would it just delay the next spiral? Because deep down, you already know. You're not looking for words. You're looking for relief. But here's the brutal truth. Relief borrowed from someone who hurt you always comes with interest. You get a few seconds of calm, followed by days of chaos. That's not healing. That's addiction. You see, texting them is not communication. It's coping. It's the adult version of tugging on your parent's sleeve, saying, "Please look at me. Please tell me I'm okay." And we don't say that to shame you. We say it to wake you up. Because the person you're trying to get love from is the same person who taught you to doubt it. You're not weak for wanting to reach out. You're wounded. But you become powerful when you realize that healing doesn't come from the same place the hurt came from. It's like walking barefoot into the fire that burned you, hoping this time it'll warm you instead. That's not love. That's self-abandonment dressed in hope. And let's break the lie that keeps you stuck. If I don't text, they'll forget me. No. If you keep texting, they'll never remember who you were in the first place. Because the more you show up uninvited, the more they see you as replaceable, familiar, predictable, and my friends, what comes easy never gets respected. I know what you're thinking. But I just want clarity. I just want to be honest. And listen, honesty is powerful, but honesty handed to the wrong person becomes ammunition. They don't want your truth. They want your reaction. They want to know they still have access to you, even after they've stopped earning it. Every message you send says, "Here I am, waiting, hoping, hurting." And what do they say back? Usually nothing. Because your presence has become a given. And nothing wakes a person up faster than the absence of what they thought would always be there. You think you're being strong by expressing your feelings. But real strength isn't in what you say. It's in what you don't say. It's in the moment you feel the fire to reach out and you choose to sit with the discomfort instead. That's power. That's discipline. That's becoming someone who doesn't need to be heard to know they're valuable. And yes, it'll hurt. You'll wrestle with your own mind. Your fingers will hover over the keyboard. You'll type and delete. Type and delete. You'll tell yourself, it's just one message. But don't lie to yourself. It's not one. It's one more. One more betrayal of your healing. One more excuse to go backward. One more attempt to change someone's mind who's already made a decision about you. The Stoics said it best. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but your estimate of it. And right now, you're estimating your worth through the lens of someone else's silence. Flip that lens. Look inward. You've been giving your worth away one message at a time. It's time to take it back. So instead of texting them, text you. Write yourself a note, not them. Write who you are, who you're becoming, what you deserve. Remind yourself that you were never meant to chase. You were meant to be chosen, and if someone has to be reminded of your worth, then they were never qualified to hold it. This is your test. The pressure is real. The silence is loud. The temptation to break it will come in waves, but every time you don't respond, you reclaim another piece of your soul. You become less reactive, more powerful. You rise. So say it now, write it in the comments and burn it into your identity. I choose discipline. Not desperation, not distraction, not delusion. Discipline. Say it like you mean it. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world around you that your silence is not weakness. It's warrior stillness. And stay with me, because what's coming next will reveal exactly why their silence was never innocent, and why your silence, it's about to shake their world. Number 2, if they ignored you once, they're testing if they can ignore you again. The first time they ignore you, it's a decision. The second time, it's a pattern. And every time after that, it's a test to see if you'll still stay. Let's stop pretending it was just a mistake, that they were too busy, that they meant to get back to you but life got in the way. Let's strip away the excuses and look the truth dead in the eye. They ignored you because they could, and now they're watching to see if you'll let it happen again. Not out of cruelty, but out of curiosity. Because here's what nobody tells you. When someone pulls away, they're not just leaving. They're measuring how much space they can put between you and still keep you tethered. My friends, this isn't confusion. This is calculation. You think silence means they're unsure. No, it means they're watching your reaction, watching your patience, watching your willingness to stay when they've already stopped showing up. Picture this. You're a vending machine of validation. They press the button, your name, your number, your soul, and you respond. Instantly, kindly, predictably. So what happens when they stop pressing the button? They wait. And when the snacks still fall out anyway, when you send that text unprovoked, when you check in, when you double message, they learn something dangerous. You'll feed them even when they don't feed you. That's not love. That's not kindness. That's a transaction where you're being emotionally taxed and spiritually starved. And still, you call it loyalty. Still, you convince yourself they just need more time. Still, you hope that maybe, if you're more patient, more understanding, they'll come around. But let me break that lie open with no apology. You're not being patient. You're being trained. Trained to lower your standards. Trained to expect silence and call it space, trained to mistake control for care. And every time you text after being ignored, you reinforce the training. You teach them that disrespect has no consequence, that you'll stay no matter how little effort they give, that you'll beg just to be noticed. And once they've learned that lesson, you become easy to lose. You see, the first time they ignored you, they were wondering if you'd chase, wondering if you'd break the silence, wondering how far they could stretch your self-worth before it snapped. And now, if you're still texting, now they know. They know you're hooked, they know you're scared, and they know, most dangerously of all, that you'd rather be breadcrumbed than be alone. But here's the truth. Silence isn't a test you need to pass. It's a test they already failed. Let's talk fear for a second, because I know what grips your chest when they go silent. It's not just rejection, it's erasure. That terrifying thought, what if they never talk to me again? What if I was forgettable? What if they're with someone else right now? And in that fear, your mind convinces you that a message might bring relief, that reaching out will bring you closure. But the only thing it brings, a new version of the same old pain. Because what you fear is not losing them. You already lost them the moment you started chasing. What you fear is accepting that the connection you cherished meant more to you than it ever did to them. And that hurts. That emptiness, that hollow ache in your gut when they don't reply. It screams that you're not enough. But let me tell you what's really not enough. Someone who sees your value, feels your presence, enjoys your energy, and still chooses to ignore you. You're not too intense. You're not too emotional. You're not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. And every time you reach out again, you're trying to convince someone of your worth when their silence already gave you the answer. So what do you do instead? You pause. You lean back. You resist. Not to play games, but to reset the power dynamic they thought they could manipulate. You stop giving them the comfort of knowing you're always one message away. You take away the certainty. You become the absence they didn't prepare for. Because here's something no one teaches you. Consistency is only attractive when it's mutual. When you're the only one showing up, your loyalty turns into background noise, into white static, into something that fades. But when you stop, when you finally don't respond, when your silence lasts longer than their ego expected, that's when the shift begins. Let's bring in the Stoics again. Seneca once said, "He who is brave is free." And what could be braver than sitting in your silence, holding the line, not flinching, not begging for someone to recognize what they chose to ignore? That's not weakness, that's sovereignty. You're not here to be someone's option. You're not here to be the convenient text they answer when they're bored. You are not the just-in-case person. You are not a backup plan. You are the main character of your own life, and main characters don't audition for supporting roles in someone else's storyline. So the next time that urge rises, the one that whispers, "Just one message won't hurt," remember this: they already made the choice to ignore you. What you do next teaches them whether that choice was the right one, and if you let them ignore you again, they will, with less guilt, less delay, less effort, because now they've learned you'll always come back. Don't give them that lesson. Give them a wake-up call, and do it through silence. Say it in the comments right now. I am not their test, not their puppet, not their fallback, not their emotional experiment. I am not their test. Type it, declare it, claim it. Show them, show yourself, show the world that you've passed the only test that matters, the one where you choose your peace over their patterns. And stay with me, folks, because next we're tearing down the biggest illusion of all, the belief that their silence means confusion, when the truth is, it's been clarity in disguise. Number 3, you are not the exception to their indifference. You weren't the exception, you were the experience. And once they got what they wanted, they moved on like it was scripted. My friends, I know this one cuts deep, because this is the lie you keep clutching like it's your last breath. The lie that says, they cared about me differently, I was special, I was the one. But let's expose it today. Let's shine a light on the truth, hiding in the shadows of your overthinking. Because here it is, you are not the exception to the way they treat people. You are the pattern continuing itself. And the moment they knew you thought you were different, they used that belief to make sure you'd stay longer than you should. You believed you were the rare one, the one they wouldn't ignore, the one who'd crack through their walls, the one who'd change the way they see relationships. You told yourself, maybe they've never had someone like me. But here's the metaphor I want you to sit with. You were a lighthouse trying to save a ship that was never planning to dock. And no matter how bright you shined, they kept drifting further. Not because your light wasn't enough, but because they never planned to come ashore. You weren't asking for a mansion. You weren't asking for a fairy tale. You just wanted consistency, a reply, a sign you mattered. But every time you reached out and got nothing, you told yourself a new story. They're busy. They're just scared. They're healing. No, my friends, they were just being themselves, and you kept rewriting the script because the truth was too painful. They didn't care the way you hoped they did. And that's where your suffering began, in the gap between their behavior and your expectations. That tiny space where potential lives, where hope whispers lies, where your mind starts editing reality to keep the fantasy alive. But here's what Stoicism teaches us, loud and clear. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. And you've been suffering in the imagination of who you thought they were. Let me hit you with something harder. They know exactly how they're treating you. You think they're confused, unaware, unsure. They're not. They know when they're being distant. They know when they're leaving you hanging. And still, they do it. Because silence doesn't require effort, but it grants them power. And every time you reach out again, every time you offer your attention for free, they get reminded, I don't have to try. They'll always be here. You were never the one exception to their detachment. You were just the latest participant in a cycle they've already mastered. But here's the plot twist. You don't have to stay enrolled. You can choose, right now, to exit the game and reclaim your peace. Because let me ask you, what exactly are you holding on to? A few good memories, a feeling that felt real, the hope that one more text might change everything. What if I told you that holding on is the real pain, not the loss itself, but the resistance to accepting it? You're not hurting because they ignored you. You're hurting because you keep believing you're the one who can change it. That somehow your love will awaken their conscience, that your loyalty will make them value you. But love doesn't work like that. You don't earn connection through sacrifice. You don't win respect by overgiving. You don't prove your worth to someone who's already made up their mind to overlook it. Let me use another metaphor. Imagine someone drops a priceless diamond in front of them and walks away like it's a pebble. They don't pause. They don't look back. They don't care. And then you, the diamond, start wondering, maybe I'm not that valuable. Maybe I should have sparkled more. Maybe I should have been easier to carry. No, the problem isn't your value. The problem is their vision. Some people are so used to glass that when they see a gem, they toss it anyway. You are not what they failed to see. You are not the exception, but you are now the escape from this pattern, from this pain, from this desperate search for validation where there never was respect. And here's the irony. The moment you stop needing to be the exception is the moment you become one, because most people stay stuck in the loop. Most people chase. Most people keep texting, hoping, spiraling. But you have a choice. Right here, right now. You can be the one who breaks the cycle, who says, I don't need closure to close the door. I don't need their apology to heal. I don't need to be special to someone who treated me like a placeholder. That's where the shift happens. That's where the power comes flooding back, when you stop performing for their attention and start protecting your peace. When you stop needing to be remembered and start working on being reborn. When you stop texting and start transforming. Marcus Aurelius once said, waste no more time arguing what a good person should be one. And I'll add to that, waste no more time proving your worth to someone who's already chosen to forget it. Just be worthy, be still, be silent, be free. So here's your power move. Say it loud, say it like you've had enough. Write it in the comments right now. I'm done being the exception. I choose to be the escape. The escape from their games, the escape from your old patterns, the escape from the illusion that love is something you have to earn. Show them. Show yourself. Show the world that your worth doesn't shrink just because they couldn't see it. It rises now, in silence, in strength, in full clarity. And stay with me. Because in the next part, we're diving into how your constant reaching out isn't reminding them of your love. It's reminding them they can ignore you without consequence. And trust me, that ends today. Number 4, every message you send is a transaction, and you're paying with your power. What costs you your peace is far too expensive, even if it looks like just one text. Let's talk about the real price of the message you're about to send. Because no one tells you this. Every text you send after being ignored isn't just communication, it's currency. And you're not paying in words, you're paying in power, in dignity, in emotional leverage. And each time you hit send without a reply, the exchange gets more and more unbalanced. They collect attention. You lose value. You might not feel it immediately. At first, it's just a text, just a check-in, just a, "Hey, hope you're okay." But what seems like a harmless message is actually a withdrawal from your self-respect. One that doesn't get reimbursed, one that quietly chips away at your worth until you start associating your own identity with whether or not they text back. That's not love, that's a loop, a toxic, invisible loop that looks like hope but feels like humiliation. Imagine this, my friends. You walk into a store. There are two types of items, the ones behind the glass, labeled "Do not touch without permission," and then there's the table near the exit, full of free samples. Take as many as you want, no protection, no effort. Which one do people respect more? Which one do they admire? Which one do they work for? Now ask yourself, which one have you been becoming? The more you keep texting someone who ignores you, the more accessible you become. The more accessible you become, the less they feel the need to respond. Because your message is no longer a gift, it's an expectation. And expectations, they're easy to neglect. They don't inspire urgency. They don't create mystery. They don't demand respect. They just sit there, like open tabs waiting to be closed, and eventually they get swiped away. Let's break the lie that keeps you trapped. I just want to be kind. I just want to be real. And I get it. You think being available means being sincere, that reaching out means you're the bigger person. But here's what you're not seeing. You're trying to prove your goodness to someone who's not even checking the receipt. You're sending kindness into a black hole and wondering why it never comes back. And here's the hardest pill to swallow. They're not confused. They're not torn. They're not emotionally overwhelmed. They're comfortable. Comfortable knowing you'll always break the silence. Comfortable knowing that no matter how they behave, you'll still show up. That's not attraction. That's manipulation wrapped in silence. So let's reframe it. Let's call every message what it truly is. A transaction. You're investing your time, your energy, your vulnerability. Now ask yourself, what are you getting in return? Are they matching it? Are they meeting you halfway? Or are they watching you give more and more while offering less and less? And if the answer is silence, that silence is the price, and it's way too high. Here's what they're learning from your texts: that you'll stay even when disrespected, that you'll hope even when neglected, that your love comes without boundaries, and once someone realizes that, once they learn you'll chase what's running from you, they no longer fear losing you. They just fear the silence that would force them to wonder. But if you never give them that silence, they never have to. You think your next message might change things, might be the one that makes them respond. But let's tell the truth. You're not texting to connect. You're texting to convince them to care, to remember, to return. And that's emotional debt you're choosing to pay every time you type and send. It's like standing in front of someone with your heart in your hand, saying, "Here, take it again. I know you dropped it before, but maybe this time." No, not this time, not anymore. Because your heart isn't a free sample. Your presence isn't a coupon code. You don't get discounted just because someone doesn't see your full price. And I get it. You think silence is too risky. You think, if I don't text, they'll forget me. But let me ask you, what if they already have? And what if, just maybe, the silence you're afraid of is the only thing that still holds any weight? Because attention has failed. Emotions have spilled, words have bounced back like echoes in an empty room, and now silence is all that's left. But silence is not absence, it's abstinence. It's you refusing to trade your worth for attention that's not even real. It's you breaking the pattern of always being the first to reach out, the first to fix, the first to beg for crumbs of conversation. It's you standing still and letting them feel the space they thought didn't matter. That's how power returns. Not by yelling, not by explaining, but by becoming unavailable, quiet, gone, not bitter, just evolved, not revengeful, just no longer interested in renting your soul out to someone who can't afford it. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Stop trying to explain your feelings to someone who's not listening. Stop trying to prove your worth to someone who isn't valuing it. Embody your self-respect by holding your silence, by owning your space, by choosing not to pay any more emotional tax for attention you should have never had to earn in the first place. So here's what I want you to do. Say it, own it, write it in the comments right now. My power is not for sale. That's your new standard, that's your boundary, that's your upgrade. Show them, show yourself, show the world that silence isn't your surrender, it's your sovereignty. And stay with me, my friends, because next, we're breaking open the truth that hurts the most. Why the person who leaves you guessing isn't actually confused. They're just secure in the fact that you'll never walk away. That's where it ends. That's where you take it back. Number 5. The right person doesn't make you guess. If you have to wonder where you stand with someone, you're probably standing alone. Let's stop sugarcoating it. Stop romanticizing silence. Stop calling mixed signals a mystery to solve when they're actually a message that's been screaming the truth since day one. My friends, real connection doesn't confuse you. It clarifies you. It makes you feel seen, not small, safe, not scattered. And if you're still sitting there trying to decipher what their silence means, I'm going to tell you exactly what it means. You're not a priority. They just enjoy the power of knowing you're still guessing. Guessing is exhausting. It drains your soul and floods your mind with lies that sound like hope. Maybe they're just overwhelmed. Maybe they didn't see it. Maybe they're shy. Maybe I'm expecting too much. But the truth isn't in the maybe, it's in the consistency. And if someone consistently leaves you unsure, they are already sure of one thing. You'll keep showing up even when they don't. Let's paint a picture. You're standing at a door, knocking, gently at first, then louder. You hear movement behind it. You see shadows pass by. The lights are on. You know someone's inside, but the door never opens. And yet, you keep knocking, because in your heart, you believe that if you just knock the right way, say the right thing, text the right message, they'll open up, they'll let you in. But they won't. Because what you're calling emotional complexity is just emotional distance, dressed in vague language and sporadic replies. And guess what? If someone really wanted you in their life, you wouldn't be knocking. The door would be wide open. You wouldn't have to decode their behavior like a cryptic message. You wouldn't have to check their online status like a detective. You wouldn't have to reread your last text 5 times, wondering if you said too much, too little, or not enough of the right kind of vulnerability. My friends, you are not supposed to feel like a burden for wanting clarity. You're not asking for too much by expecting effort, consistency, or replies that come with respect instead of crumbs. Let me break the lie society handed you. True love is complicated. No, that's a trap. True love is simple. Maybe not always easy, but clear. And if they make you question everything, it's not because they care too deeply. It's because they don't care enough to make things certain. Now, I know what your heart whispers when the silence gets heavy. But what if they're just scared? What if they've been hurt before? You start building excuses on their behalf, writing backstories you were never told. But let me say this loud. Emotional damage is not a hall pass for emotional damage. Their past doesn't give them the right to play games with your heart, and your empathy shouldn't become a trap that keeps you stuck in confusion. Here's the harsh reality. When people want something, they go after it. With clarity, with consistency, with courage. They don't leave you in emotional purgatory, hoping for a signal. And if they do, that's your sign, your red flag, your exit door dressed in silence. Think back. Has anyone who truly cared about you ever made you feel like this? Anxious, confused, uncertain? Of course not, because real care doesn't play hide and seek. It doesn't make you wonder. It shows up, it responds, it values. So why are you treating this current chaos like a connection worth chasing? The truth is, you've started equating inconsistency with intensity. You think the ups and downs mean there's passion, that the silence followed by sudden interest is proof of something meaningful. But that's not love. That's adrenaline, that's trauma, that's your nervous system mistaking chaos for chemistry, and you deserve better than that. Let me give you something straight from the Stoic mindset. We suffer not from the things themselves, but from our judgment about them. Right now your judgment is clouded. You're calling silence sacred. You're calling delay patience. You're calling neglect them needing time. But what if the truth is they're just not invested? And what if facing that pain today sets you free from repeating it tomorrow? Because here's what's really happening. You're shrinking, slowly, silently. You've gone from speaking your mind to editing your texts, from expecting effort to accepting leftovers, from walking tall to tiptoeing around their mood swings, and every time you justify it, you become more disconnected from your own standards. And the worst part? They know it. And they're using that silence not because they're afraid of you leaving, but because they know you won't. But that changes today. Today is the day you stop being the one who waits, the one who guesses, the one who needs confirmation from someone who couldn't even give you clarity. Today is the day you stop knocking on doors that were never meant to open for you, because the moment you walk away from confusion is the moment you walk into peace. Here's the new mindset. If I have to guess, it's not for me. Say it again. Write it in the comments right now. If I have to guess, it's not for me. That's your new compass. That's your filter. That's your boundary line. Because from now on, you're done performing for replies. You're done decoding silence. You're done making sense of inconsistency. From now on, your peace matters more than their potential. Your clarity matters more than their confusion. Your self-worth matters more than any message they might eventually send. And remember this, sometimes the loudest answers come from the silence they leave behind. So let it speak, let it sting, and then let it free you. Stay with me, my friends, because what's coming next will hit even harder. You're about to learn why texting isn't just killing your power, it's handing them the script to play you again and again. But that stops now. Number 6. Texting is their game. Silence is your power. Move. The moment you go silent, you stop being predictable and start being powerful. Let's not lie to ourselves anymore, my friends. You think texting them one more time might fix it, might finally get the response you've been waiting for. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. Texting isn't your tool anymore. It's their trap. It's the arena where they win every time you step back in. Because the moment you text after being ignored, they know you haven't changed. You're still hooked, still hoping, still available. And guess what? That's exactly how they like it. This isn't about confusion. This is about control. They don't need to reply. They don't need to explain, because they know you'll do all the work for both of you. And that's the game. Every time you reach out, you're feeding the illusion that they're worth your time, and they feed off that, off your need, off your vulnerability, off your attention. You think you're playing to win them back, but they're playing to keep you in place. It's like giving someone the remote to your emotions and then acting surprised when they mute you, pause you, and press play only when it benefits them. But here's the secret they don't want you to realize. You take the remote back the moment you stop responding. The second you go silent, not bitter, not reactive, not dramatic, but still, something shifts. Suddenly, they're not the center of the universe. You are, and they feel it. Let's use a metaphor. Picture a stage. You've been standing there, performing. You give your best lines, you cry, you smile, you wait for applause. But the audience? Silent. Maybe one glance, maybe a smirk, but no standing ovation. And still, you perform, again and again, until one day you stop. You walk off stage, no exit speech, no final bow, just gone. And that silence, that stillness, that's what finally makes them sit up in their seat. You see, people only notice your presence after they feel your absence. And if you keep making yourself available through messages, they never get the chance to miss you. You're always there, always replying, always reaching out first. There's no mystery, no power, no shift. Just you, on the emotional treadmill, running and running while they stand still. But silence changes everything. It's not passive, it's not weakness, it's calculated power. It says, I've said enough. It says, I'm done giving you free access to my energy. It says, you'll have to sit with what you lost now. And I know, it's terrifying. That voice in your head is loud. But what if they forget me? What if they never come back? But the real question is, why do you want someone who only comes back when you go silent? Is that love or strategy? Is that connection or convenience? The Stoics taught us that emotional mastery isn't about repressing feelings. It's about choosing responses that serve your peace. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. So here's the truth. You don't control what they do next. You only control whether or not you keep playing a game where you're always the one chasing, always the one explaining, always the one left waiting. And let's not forget, texting isn't just communication anymore. It's negotiation. You're negotiating for their time, their attention, their crumbs. And every time you hit send, you're saying, I'm still here. I'm still hoping. I still need you to validate me. But silence flips the dynamic. It removes your desperation from the table. It makes them sit with the loss, with the questions, with the sudden gap where your energy used to be. And that, my friends, is when the power shifts. Not when you send the perfect message, not when you pour your heart into a paragraph, but when you say nothing. That's when their mind starts racing. That's when they start wondering. That's when they open the chat and scroll through your words. Not because they care, but because they realize you stopped. When you go silent, you stop giving them updates. And the silence, it speaks louder than your most emotional confession ever could. It's mystery. It's respect. It's you no longer dancing to their rhythm. But don't go silent just to manipulate them. Don't make it a tactic. Make it a decision, a commitment to yourself. Because this isn't about getting them back. It's about getting you back. The version of you that had standards, that didn't explain their worth, that didn't sit by the phone like it was the altar of your identity. The version of you that knew love should feel clear, not calculated. This is your rebirth. This is your resistance. This is your rising. Because silence isn't empty. It's full of every boundary you didn't speak, every time you should have walked away but didn't, every ounce of dignity you gave to someone who didn't even deserve your reply. And now they don't get another message. They get space, they get distance, they get the void they created, and now have to sit in. So say it now. Say it in the comments like it's the last time you ever beg for attention. My silence is my strength. Write it, own it, make it your new identity. Show them, show yourself. Show the world that you don't need to speak to be heard. You don't need to beg to be remembered. You just need to stop playing the game. Stay with me, because in the next part, we break down how letting go isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing you'll ever do, and it's time you started doing what they never expected, choosing yourself. Number 7, you're not being strong by holding on. You're being brave by letting go. It takes more strength to walk away in silence than it does to hold on in desperation. Let's get honest, my friends. Somewhere along the way, you started calling your pain patience. You started labeling your heartbreak as hope. You convinced yourself that holding on meant you were strong, that staying meant you were loyal. But what if I told you the truth you've been running from? You're not holding on out of love, you're holding on out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being forgotten, fear that letting go means losing the last piece of what once felt real. But here's the lie that's been keeping you stuck. Letting go is weakness. No, holding on to someone who keeps letting you go, that's what's killing your strength. Letting go doesn't mean you never cared. It means you care about yourself enough now to stop bleeding for someone who won't even hand you a bandage. Letting go isn't giving up. It's growing up. It's the moment you stop handing your future to someone who couldn't even handle your presence. It's when you realize that your peace isn't something you should have to beg for, and that the person who makes you feel most unsure of your worth is not the one you were meant to keep proving it to. Imagine this. You're carrying a heavy bag, dragging it behind you for miles. Inside, it's filled with unanswered texts, false hope, promises that never showed up, and days you spent waiting for a message that never came. And every step you take with that weight, you're losing pieces of yourself. But what if you stopped? What if you dropped the bag right here, right now? What if freedom wasn't something you had to earn from them, but something you had to allow yourself to feel? Because here's the secret no one tells you. Healing isn't loud, it's not dramatic, it doesn't come with closure texts or final conversations or perfectly wrapped explanations. Healing often starts with a whisper, I deserve better than this. And from that whisper, something powerful begins to grow, detachment. Detachment from the outcome, detachment from the obsession, detachment from the fantasy you built around someone who barely fought to keep you. You think strength is about proving you can stay through the worst. But true strength, it's walking away when your presence is no longer valued. It's choosing not to answer when they finally text after weeks of silence. It's sitting with the pain instead of escaping it by reaching out again. Because every time you stay quiet, you're not just avoiding their drama, you're reclaiming your identity. Letting go is the silent revolution. It's the moment they stop hearing from you, stop feeling your energy, stop benefiting from your consistency, and by the time they realize what they lost, you won't even be in the same chapter anymore, because you didn't pause your life for them, you started rebuilding it without them. Don't wait for a reply to heal. Don't wait for them to suddenly become the person you kept hoping for. If they wanted to, they would have. And the fact that you're still hoping says more about your heart than it ever did about theirs. As the Stoics say, don't tie your heart to something that can be taken away. Let it rest in something greater, your own virtue. You don't owe anyone another chance to confuse you. You don't owe them a front row seat to your healing. Let them watch from a distance, if they're even looking. But you keep rising. So let this be the last day you break your own heart trying to make someone stay. Let this be the first day you walk away without needing them to notice. Let this be the turning point where silence becomes your language and peace becomes your path. Now say it loud, say it in the comments, and carve it into your new reality. I let go to grow. Type it, feel it, live it.